Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Wow Podcast. It is I, Jacquell, your host, where we are focusing on health, body, mind, and spirit with how to properly grieve. And so, if you've been following us, or we need to catch up to speed, we've been talking about the stages of grieving. We've been talking about how grieving affects us. We've been talking about how it affects us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? And the most important thing is that now, as we transition, we talk about how to properly let go. How do we do this? How do we do that? And now I wanted to touch on some more deeper issues of the root of things. And so, one of the root of things that we were focusing on has been anger, and how the anger has really been a low key issue of our stress, low key issue of our medical conditions. So now we're gaining hypertension, we're gaining other physical elements, aches, pains in the body, things that we can't even describe because we have this root of an issue that we don't know how to properly deal with. And then this also affects with our physical being of listening to our body. What does that really look like? Okay. So as we've been dealing with listening to our body, I believe the last podcast I was talking about taking those measures of self-care, understanding that if your body says that it's tired, what does it mean? Sometimes we're oversleeping. There's other times when we could be in a place where it seemed like what I just had. We're not focusing. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. Sometimes people say, "Oh man, I keep having brain farts." That's what I was talking about. But the lack of because your body is saying it's tired, it's exhausted. Sometimes we don't listen to our body and we overwork, we overdo this, we overdo that, and we're not compensating or really adhering to what the body says. And then I talked about how that brain goes and do what needs to be as a reboot. And sometimes that be more serious medical conditions that we didn't even know that we were suffering from. Some people suffer from a stroke, heart attack. Some people find out they had an aneurysm, things of this nature that is more severe. If we listen to our body and really take those attributes to really apply it to our life, the things of a better outcome we can have. So as I was talking about anger and I wanted to focus on that, I wanted to now shifted into what anger can also bring to us. There's a thing called addictions, right? And from anger to addictions, what are we really numbing? Okay, you know me, when I really talk about stuff, I have to write down notes. And I thank God for always giving me like this is what we need to focus on because I don't know who needs to hear this. But at the same token, I want to ensure that whoever is hearing this is understanding the importance of what needs to be done to yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Okay. So we're going to focus on, the wow in a different spect of words of wisdom and wellness, how this can be applied to you, where we're talking about that transformation of dealing with the grief in a negative stance, dealing with that and not understanding that you are loved, that you don't have to have the guiltiness there. And when you're dealing with the anger and it goes into the addictions, why? Because we try to drink it away. We try to do drugs to try to numb the pain away. And we take these things and we apply it and then we continue to damage our body. But we think that we're helping our body, but we're really not. We're damaged. We're causing more damage. So I want to get to the emotional roots of addiction. And that this might be like a few series. So we're not going to rush into what they say. Take your time. What's the rush? We're going to take our time in this because I think it's really important for us to focus about the anger and what it builds with and how it destroys us as individuals, as our family, as a culture, and just as a whole in the spectrum. Addictions are not always about substances. What does that mean, Jacquell? That means that it's not about just what you are inputting to your body, but it's also about the coping and numbing. Common roots is unresolved trauma, shame, the grief, the loneliness, and anger. So let me just give you an example. Addiction isn't just about drugs or alcohol. It could be food, shopping, sex, social media, overworking, anything that we use to avoid our feelings, avoid communicating our feelings. When we carry an unspoken anger, especially the kind rooted in childhood rejection or betrayal, it festers. And sometimes addiction become a way to silence it. For example, we say I'm just drinking to relax, but we really are trying to numb some residue, some unresolved conflict, unresolved child hurt, unresolved trauma that we are afraid to face on. So let's talk about that. If we just take a minute to think about, and some of us, this may not be our problem, this may not be our issue, this may not be our pain, but for some it is. And if it's not you, then we have a responsibility to recognize when someone else is having those issues. If we ever heard of the term that this the person is a functional alcoholic, a functional person that does this, that, and the third, that means that they have a severe addiction to something, but they're able to function because they try to cope and deal with their numbness that way. Have you ever met someone that has a great work ethic? So like they go to work, they're on time, they're doing everything they're supposed to do. They're having this, they're having that, they're doing this, they're doing that. And it's like, oh my God, this person's an amazing person at work. But then on the weekend, or when they get off work, from, let's say they get off work at 5, from 6 o'clock to about 12 midnight, they're just drinking. And then they're releasing issues that they've been holding in. I've had people in past talk about, my father used to say a drunk mind is actually a sober mind. And that was a saying I'd be like, oh, I didn't get it. But once I got older, I understood that a lot of people tell you their truth when they're quote unquote under the influence, right? And I'm using alcohol because it's something that most people can commonly relate to, or substance abuse like drugs, most people can commonly relate to. But when they come off work and they just go, and then you look in their room and then they just have alcohol everywhere, or you look in the refrigerator, you see cases of beer or the cases of bottles all over the floor. That's not their norm to what you have seen. You're seeing this person one way here, and then it's like a whole nother way here. And then they're just sobbing and they're crying, and they're always bringing or reflecting of things that they dealt with in the past. They're holding on to a guilt. They're holding on to unresolved trauma. They're holding on to shame. They're holding on to the rejection and betrayal this whole time. And a lot of this resides in, and I'm going to ruffle a few feathers when I say this, because we have taught and been taught, and it's been generation after generation after generation, where we have told everybody, what goes in my house stays in my house. A few sessions back, I had Pastor Marlon Locke, awesome man of God, who talked about even that, about how much damage that caused even him as a pastor. How much damage are we causing ourselves, our children, the next generation, the ones before us? Some of us have unresolved building relationships with our parents, with our brothers, our sisters, and cousins, and them, because we were taught that when different ones did us wrong, shh, don't say nothing. You have forced me to swallow poison of trauma that was not agreed upon for me. So now many people try to, I call it when you're rubbing somebody, patting them down, we want to soothe them demons. We want to soothe, with all the trauma and the pain and stuff that they're going through, instead of allowing them to bring it out. Oh, no, it's okay. We're just going to, no, allow that person to express what it is. Because now we can get to the deep root issue of why they're drinking every day, why they're not successful in relationships. And when I say relationships, it's not just between A couple, I'm talking about in relationships in all areas of life, why they're not able to sustain a household. Let's go through this trauma. Let's go to these things that they have never been able to say. Because I'm not here to judge you. We got to find out the problem. Some of us feel that even in those moments of understanding the anger transitioning into addictions, we feel that it's okay for us to receive it that way. Why? Because of generation after generation after generation. This is what I saw in my house. This is what I saw different ones do. This is what, when dad came home, he always had to have a cigar and a glass of beer because that was his way to relax. Some addictions bring on physical retaliation to those that we really love, but now we're causing physical harm to them and sometimes self-harm to ourselves. Sometimes because people allow the influence of drugs and alcohol and other things to now subdue them, now it causes them to be in a place of impairment. So that's why, when we hear people saying, don't drink, don't drive, don't drink and drive, it's because there's an impairment to where you can't really focus and see what's really on the road. You're going to be delayed on your responses, right? And that's also the same thing when it comes to your interaction with people. Sometimes people are very aggressive. Sometimes people are, they're like the opposite, So if this person, or upon my observation as well, and something that we're taught is that most people are the opposite of what they are when they're sober, right? So if you have somebody that's very loud and arrogant, sometimes that might be more of the quiet person. Vice versa, if somebody's more quiet, they might be more loud. Sometimes they might just be the same way, and sometimes they may be more aggressive. Now that they have what we call liquor or alcohol, whatever, some substance behind them is now giving them this power, this umph to now tell you how they really feel. The addictions causes us to be in isolation, right? We feel that there's no one that's there. We feel that there's no hope. We feel that nobody really understands us. We feel that in spite of everything that I've been through, I don't want to have to deal with this no more. I don't want to talk about it no more. And, and we go through this, and we put ourselves in exile. When we start dealing with addictions, we don't want to come to the sober mind of really accepting what happened. Not that if it was my fault or not, but just accepting what the situation was. And sometimes we as people, individually, we have to know how to, sometimes the people in our trauma, childhood that may have attacked us, that may have caused harm to us, they may not even be here no more, but we still hold on to that guilt. We still hold on to the shame because what was told to us, what was said to us. How many times did somebody say, if you tell anybody, they're not going to believe you? And as a child, you start believing that, like, even if I say something, they're not going to believe you because of what this person said. Or they will tell you, if you do, your mom or your dad is going to get in trouble. You don't want them to get in trouble, do you? The manipulation has caused this person to now be in a state of disarray, to now be in a place where they're like, I don't know who I can trust. I don't know what I can trust anymore. I don't know if what you're saying coming out of your mouth is true. And with addictions becomes abnormal behaviors that we allow to take over us because now we're under the influence. We accept it now. We accept being a hothead. We accept being rambunctious. We accept being a person that you can't come over everybody's house now because now they're saying you're stealing too much because you want to overcome your, not overcome, you want to comply with what your addiction is. You're hearing the voices in your head telling you need some more. You're hearing yourself telling you have to do this, you have to do that. You're hearing these voices in your head. And to you trust what they're saying. You trust that sound. You trust that noise that you hear. because it seems so calming. It seems that it's so relatable. It seems that it's just okay. When the truth of the matter is, that is the enemy tricking you, because he knows if you really forgave and let go and overcame and actually saw a therapist or a counselor, reached out to a life coach, reached out to your pastor, and I'm saying people that are unbiased. Okay. Sometimes we got to have that harsh conversation with our family members that may have offended us, so that you don't have to resort to numbing your pain. You're able to release it. You're able to let it go. And so, understanding the emotional roots of addiction, the emotional part of it is like, if I wasn't addicted to alcohol, if I wasn't addicted to drugs, maybe the issue that I had was because somebody sexually assaulted me. So maybe it's okay for me to now be a prostitute because this is what I was told as a child. I've gained so much addictions in different forms. And sometimes you can have a combination of addictions because you're sitting here trying to figure out how to numb it as much as possible. I can only imagine some stuff that we go through was not, it's not your fault. And I think it needs to be said more than one time. What you deal with as a child, and whether it was abuse, neglect, whatever form it was, feeling even the loneliness, feeling that I couldn't talk to no one, nobody was there for support, having those feelings, and it's okay for us to honestly say, I'm here. I validate those feelings. I validate that you say that you were feeling this way, because nobody can tell you how to feel in that moment. Nobody should be able to tell you, you might as well get over it. Get over it now. It's over. It's over and done with. And a lot of people that do that, that's a form of deflection. We have to start calling people out on that. Your mental health has been dealing with this situation for over 20 plus years, over 30 plus years. There are people in their 50s and 60s. I'm getting short on time, and I know I'm gonna express this. So, working with the homeless population, we have a various of ages. Okay. We have some that are young as 15, 16, 17. You have others that are up there 60, 60, 65 years old, who deal with addiction. And in order for us to successfully have you complete our programs, and you're housed and you're stable and you're trying to transition to stay and maintain what it is, we have to find resources to help you get to the root of your issue. Otherwise, guess what? It's going to be another cycle. It's going to be another cycle. Whatever is the hang up, whatever is holding you to not allow you to pursue and complete what has been predestined over your life, we have to figure out how you can successfully let it go. Yes. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I've had to face. I don't know everything about you. I only can tell you from my deliverance. I only can tell you the things that I let go. Because when people do you wrong, and when people do things, it trickles to the next generation. Okay? If you were, and I have to use the word molested, you did not agree to someone touching you inappropriately. Okay? Try to say all forms so it's not blotted out. You did not agree. You did not consent. You are a child. You are a minor. You have no idea what that even is. Even as a teenager, you are still young. You still don't fully understand what is happening. Okay? And somebody in your family touches you inappropriately. Okay? Have you touched them inappropriately? And they tell you nobody is going to believe you. You will hold on to those reservations, those feelings, You won't tell nobody because you're told nobody will believe. Now, the next generation from that person, you start seeing their children is what now experiencing some of the same stuff, going through sexual assault, going through this, going through that. And as a person, now we what? We see like the apple, as they say, don't fall too far from the tree. But what if we were able to actually expose it at the root of this person? We probably would have been able to see that, oh, it wasn't just him, it was somebody else. It wasn't just her, it was just somebody else. We have to stop silencing the sound of trauma. We have to stop silencing our children and telling them you should not say anything. We have to stop silencing and not allowing people to be able to tell the truth. Now, see, I have to say this. Everybody's not lying. Okay. If everybody is saying the same thing, as my father said, if everybody is saying the same thing, somebody's not lying. You have an addiction. You have a problem. You're trying to get over what it is that's hurting you. You're trying to get over the problems of the how to get over these addictions. I keep going back to this. I keep going back to that. Let's talk about it. Let's go here. Talk about the sex. I keep going back to this type of dude. I keep going back to that type of female. Because you haven't changed your sin. Oh, I'm gonna say that for the next one. You haven't changed your stance. A few years ago, I ministered and I talked about how God was showing me about how I was dealing with dogs. And I was trying to satisfy myself dealing with, whether I was eating or, because I'm BBW, I'm this, I'm that. But then I still had an addiction for food and for this and that. And the Lord had to really break me down like, Jacquell, it's because you need to change your sense. You keep getting the same type of people in your life because you have, whether it's a poodle or whether it's a Rottweiler, it's still a dog. Okay? You're not changing your scent. And when I say changing your scent, you have to be delivered from that. Let's get to some deep-rooted things. Because if you continue to allow that, it's just going to feed your addiction. And people always say your addictions are demons. It is. It is. If you are a part of the kingdom, you understand what we're talking about, the spiritual attacks of the enemy and how he plays with your mind. Those of us that are not in the kingdom of God, and we hear about, people talk about the thoughts that come to you, the things that try to overwhelm you. Those are things that we're taught also in the medical. This is real. People have taken their life thinking that they're going to silence the noise, the sounds in their heads. But if we don't get to the root of it, it's going to pass on to the next generation and next generation. I am an avid person where I will teach my sons, and I teach my younger one now, every time you come home. Hey, how was it today? We're going through our little special. Hey, did anybody tell you to touch them? Did anybody try to touch you? And these are realistic conversations that we got to have. Why? Because so much is happening to kids every day. So many things have happened to us when we were growing up. Whether it was with us specifically or in our groups. You're going to school and you're hearing about different stories and you're hearing about different things as a kid growing up. So can you just imagine what they're dealing with now? I'm in high school and I'm seeing some of my, people that I'm in high school with already in addictions, already smoking and drinking, coming to school drunk because they can't deal. They're 14, 15-year-old talking about they can't deal with life, already damaging their body physically. Okay. Damaging their body, their organs. People in high school, when I was in high school, already taking meth, already taking heroin, already taking crack, already drinking. The addictions, and it's a lot of them. 90% of them was stemming from anger, and even those that were sad, they were sad, but they were still angry. Underlying unreserved anger. Gotta come back. I'm gonna wrap this up, but I'm gonna tell you this: if we cannot get over our anger and understand, when I say get over, I mean getting to the deep root of what is causing us to be, we will always be in a stagnant position to where we're not allowing ourselves to be the better person. We're not allowing ourselves to have even an opportunity to be great. We're absorbing everything that was negatively said to us, everything that was said out of manipulation, everything that was said out of hurt, everything. Because hurt people hurt people. Remember, I talked about that a few series ago. Hurt people hurt people. Some people say things out of envious and strife. Some people say things out of guilt. Some people say things to deflect off of them. And because of that, they want to hurt you. And a lot of times we're put in positions to where we have to make, or we're told we have to make these decisions when it's not about. So we're going to stop right there. And let's self-reflect and analyze what it is that we're trying to do, what it is that we need to do, whether this is us specifically, or if this is someone else that is dealing with the situation like, hey, I'm recognizing these signs and symptoms. I'm recognizing this because your life is still important. I still believe and hope for the best of each and every person that I came in contact with and comes in contact with, because there is still hope. What we always feel is people are failures, that we feel people are horrible, and we feel that they can't make it, they can't do this, they can't do that. That's your perception of that person. Doesn't mean that's what God thinks about us. He loves us. He loves everyone. And if we understand that there is no failure in him and that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, we will definitely have our mindset in a different setting. So until next time, don't give up. You're not going to give up. You are going to complete everything that has been predestined and spoken from God over your life. I can do all things through Christ. That's true. Thank you all. Have a great day.